Hi guys, Helena here. In this video, I'm going to be showing you my process for redrawing this old artwork. This drawing is from 2020, so about 4 years ago. I wanted to redraw an artwork for this video because I have been really struggling with art block recently. Redrawing your old art is such a good confidence boost, especially if it's been quite a while and your style has changed and evolved. It's kind of like I draw this in your style, but instead of comparing your art with somebody else's amazing art, you end up comparing your art to your, less good art. I still like this older piece that I did. I was looking through my Instagram in the early days. This one had that sort of like sci-fi celestial vibe to it, which is what I'm really drawn to at the moment. And I remember I really liked this drawing. Looking at it now, it could use some improvement. Like, okay, obviously she wants to leave, but why does she look so happy? She's smiling too much. She's too happy. Like, sure, these aliens are coming to take her away like she wants, but I don't think that she should be that happy about it. Aside from that, like, it's not too bad. I feel like my rendering skills have improved a lot, and I plan on making the pose more dynamic. I do still like this older artwork. It's just I have some new ideas and I'm excited to see what the final result is going to be. So I thought I would take you guys along for the ride. So I just start out with a really messy sketch. I know what this artwork's going to be, which makes this process a lot easier, but usually this can take me a long time and ends up being really messy. But for this one, I knew what I wanted, so it was pretty straightforward. I wanted to have her head tilting back a bit more in this new artwork because she is supposed to be like looking up into the beam of light. Saying that, I don't know why I always seem to gravitate towards these sort of poses, these sort of angles and perspectives for the head. I feel like they're very dynamic and interesting, but they are so hard to get right. I don't know if I'm trying to challenge myself or torture myself, but sometimes I get it kind of right and other times it's a total failure. So I really hope that by the end of this artwork, I can get it right. And I'm just basically going over my rough sketch and defining some areas. If this pass turns out really well, I'll use it as my final like sketch kind of line art layer. If it's still a little bit messy, I'll usually go over it again, but this one's feeling pretty good, so I will probably just use this in the final. I don't worry too much about making the hair perfect because I end up painting over all of those lines later, but if I ever want to use the sketch for a picture on Instagram, like a post, then I try to make it look good. I guess at the end I have a nice sketch that I can be proud of. So the next part is going to be just laying down all of my flat colors. I'm going to pick the colors similar to the previous one to begin with, but I'm already sort of thinking of switching things up. So I will basically just put down one color that is close to what I want for each element. So like the skin and the hair, the clothes, the background, etc. Then I will just tweak them later to make them suit each other a bit more. And I'll also add some soft gradients to each element, so each block of flat color. And I do this in the hue, saturation, and brightness panel. I'll use the brush option that Procreate has, and using a big soft brush, I'll just lightly paint in a gradient and then I can just tweak those colors with the sliders, the bottom. I love doing it this way because I don't have to think about what I want before I do it. I can just apply where I want the color and then just experiment until my heart's content. So I mentioned that I wanted to change the colors a little bit. I do like this monochromatic color scheme that I have in the original one, but I just feel like I want some more color. I want something different. I think I want the beam of light to be some sort of neon color. Not sure what I want yet. So I was thinking maybe I will play around with the gradient maps. I don't use the gradient maps that much, but when I have, I've gotten some really cool outcomes. So the problem right now is that I have the beam of light just on, like, it's on its own layer and it's actually just one color, so it's that kind of whitish color. If I was to apply gradient maps to this, nothing much would happen because it's just one value. So what I'm going to do is I will duplicate the dark background layer, and then I'm going to merge the light beam and the background layer together. Then I'm just going to erase the dark color of the background around the beam of light. And now on this light beam layer, we have a range of values, which is exactly what the gradient maps need to work. So we'll go and apply some gradient maps, and these look so cool. Like, I don't think I could have thought of these colors on my own, at least not this quickly, and there's so many to choose from. Most of these are gradient maps that came with Procreate, and then some of them are ones that I've just played around with for different projects and are still there. Now, the only problem with this is, how am I supposed to choose which one to use? Because there are so many that I like, and honestly, I have scrolled through these countless times. I have probably scrolled through every single color on here at least 5 times. If decision paralysis is an actual term, I have it.
3 hours later.
So there's 3 colors I really like. I'm really drawn to this pink and purple one. This blue kind of aqua one is closer to the original color scheme, which is why I'm kind of thinking that one. And then we have this other one that just kind of matches the colors that are on there at the moment. I really like it. I've had to think about it, and I think I'm going to go with the pink and purple for now. Okay, so the way I've been rendering lately, or starting this rendering process, is I have been selecting the element I'm going to start working on. So for now, it's going to be the skin. And I'm going to paint my initial shadows and highlights in the hue, saturation, and brightness mode. Not sure what it's called. Mode, I think. Panel. Because Procreate has the really cool brush tool. So I can basically put down all the areas that I want to add these shadows and highlights to. I can also blend, I can erase, and I can change the colors instantly. I'll just put it down where I think, and then I can just move the sliders if I'm feeling like it's too vibrant, if I want it to be a slightly different hue. And then when I'm like somewhat happy with it, it doesn't have to be perfect because I'm going to paint over it later. I just apply and then I'll do it again for the highlights. But I know not all programs have this brush option, I'm pretty sure. You can apply shadows and highlights in so many different ways. I have a tutorial in my shop on painting skin, but maybe I'll make an updated one that covers a few different approaches one day. Once I have some basic shadows and highlights, I'm going to move on to the hair so I can take a little bit of a break from the skin. And once I've done the hair, I feel like the artwork feels so much closer to being finished, and it gives me a little bit more motivation to continue. So we're going to start the hair. This is my absolute favorite part of the process. I could draw hair all day. I love it. You may have noticed that I changed up her hairstyle a bit. I just really wanted to paint some long hair. And I mean, it's been 4 years. Her hair has definitely grown. I think that she's missed a few hair appointments while waiting for these aliens. I'm using my own custom brushes, and I recently made a new brush pack. This one has a hairbrush in it. I've never really liked using hairbrushes before. I think it's because all the ones I had were super realistic looking and they didn't really match my art style. But this one I made is perfect for my style. It feels so satisfying to draw with. Painting hair is really therapeutic for me. I think because in a stylized art style, you can't really do it wrong. There are definitely better ways to do it, but it's not like a line in the wrong place or the wrong perspective will negatively affect the entire piece like it could with the face. The hair is more organic, so it's way less stressful and just fun, less thinking, which gives my brain a nice break. And for the process of painting the hair, I just start with the darkest color and then I build up the colors as I go. Once I'm done, I'll open up the curves layer, and using the brush option again, I paint in a gradient to create that ombre effect. Sometimes I'll use this method as well to add some more depth and extra highlights to the hair. So now that the hair is done, I feel like the character already feels like it's coming to life. So I'm just going to start rendering everything else. Because we put those rough shadows and highlights down before, and we put some gradients in, like the blush and everything, I can easily color pick right from the canvas now as I paint over her. And this is where I've really seen the most improvement over the past 4 years. My old version was very flat, there wasn't much color variation or dimension to her face or body, but at the time, this artwork was actually a huge improvement for me. I don't think it's bad by any means, but I can definitely see how much I've grown. I understand the 3D planes of the face so much better now and how to add lighting in a way that feels more natural and expressive. My style has evolved so many times over the past 5 years or so since I really started trying to get better at drawing. It's not that any one style was bad, but I just eventually get bored doing the same process over and over, and then it can start to feel like art block. Does this happen to you too? Doing something like redrawing old work is actually really helpful for getting out of an art block. I've also really been liking the look of adding fine black line art in certain areas lately. It's not everywhere, it's just like little spots to help define certain elements and just make them pop and stand out a bit more. I almost forgot about her freckles. So I'm using my freckle brush just to add some on her cheeks and her forehead, but I'm feeling like they're a little bit distracting, so I'm gonna tone them down a bit and blend them in so they're less obvious. Now we'll just paint some details on her clothes. I want the top to look like it's a different texture from her hair and skin, so I'm just using a texture brush to lightly paint over it with that dark kind of black color. And I feel like it gives the impression of the weave of the mesh fabric that she's wearing, and it just adds some like visual interest to the piece as well. One of the last things I do is I'm going to create some blending mode layers. So here I'm using an overlay layer, and I'm just color picking from my canvas and painting in some like darker areas and some lighter areas just to kind of unify the color palette a little bit more and add a bit more depth and richness to it. I also want to emphasize the lighting. So I'm going to apply a hard light blending mode layer, and then I'm just going to pick like a dark purplish bluish gray color and apply it to the whole layer. And then I'm just going to erase all of the areas that I feel like the light is going to hit the character the most. This can be a little bit like intense, but I will just lower the opacity on that layer later. I end up just leaving it pretty low so it doesn't make a big impact, but I feel like it made a little bit of an impact. Then I just like to add some little extra effects, like some smoke and some particles and a little bit of rim light here and there. And
Scotty, beam us up fast.
I hope you guys enjoyed seeing the process of this piece. I feel like this is such a huge improvement. I love the added colors and she has so much more dimension now. Anyways, what do you think of the final result? Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye!